here at my client's house, blah, 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 and we just redid this kitchen.
If you sit down and you listen to somebody talk about whatever it is that they're talking about,
you can literally boost a post for $1 a day, $2 a day, $3 a day. And what that will do is now it creates a list of people that have already watched your videos.
Owning any type of restoration business is demanding of your time, your energy, and resources. And that's why we're here. This is Restoration Domination. If you're a contractor in water mitigation, mold remediation, biohazard cleanup, roofers, or public adjusters, you'll learn how to dominate using some of the techniques and strategies that our guests will share. We'll interview top industry insiders, movers and shakers, hustlers and hackers, and anyone dominating their industry. This is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, and dominate. And here's your host, Rico Garcia.
All right, guys. What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Restoration Domination. Today's a very exciting day for me because not only do I have a fantastic industry professional that's going to be joining us today, but I'm very happy to call him a very good friend. Without further ado, Vince Perri, also known as the commercial claims advocate. Vince, welcome to the show.
thank you for having me, Rico.
Awesome. You were so hyped up pre-camera, and all of a sudden it's like, thank you for having me, Rico. All of a sudden you like toned it down a little bit. Are you saving it?
No, I'm pumped. No, man, I'm pumped.
Awesome.
I'm pumped.
So
I'm ready to go. Ready to rock and roll.
Give us a little bit of intro for those that may not be familiar with who you are and your social media presence and all of that stuff. Like, who are you? What do you do? What do you bring to the table for the industry professionals out there?
So my name is Vince Perri. Online on social media, I'm known as a commercial claims advocate. I am a licensed and certified public adjuster, now licensed in the state of Florida, Texas, North Carolina, California, and honestly soon to be Louisiana here, depending on how things go. I've been a public adjuster for, I think it's coming on 14 years now. And recently, over the last year and a half, we've sort of, not transitioned, but we're still obviously working claims as Elite Resolutions, which is our public adjusting firm. But we're also educating now. I felt like after doing this for, I think it was about the 10, 11, 12-year mark, I said, okay, I feel like I've got enough knowledge in this industry where I could start actually teaching what I've learned over the decade or so working these claims. So now we are training public adjusters and also contractors as well on the insurance claims process, what to look for, what to ask, how to send your letters, how to word your arguments, and how to really just settle your claims the way they're supposed to.
Right. So for the restoration contractors out there that are listening to the show, public adjusters that are listening to the show, one of the big things that I always like to talk about is that trying to develop a symbiotic relationship from a restoration standpoint as well with a public adjuster, right? Because ultimately at the end of the day, it's really about the customer, right? How can we bring our resources to the table for the customer, right? However, that being said, there's sometimes seems to be a lot of animosity between, water mitigation, mold remediation restoration contractors and public adjusters. They don't want to bring them in, or, they're like, hey, they're scared that somehow the deals are going to get messed up. And you and I have had conversations about this. Like, in your opinion, how should a restoration company look at working side by side with a public adjuster?
So happy you asked me this question because I've been thinking about this all morning and a little bit last night. Now, by restoration contractor, are you talking about mitigation or are you actually talking about restoring restoration? So, for example, are you talking about tarping, mitigating, setting up machines, cutting out, mold cleanup, everything else when it comes to the actual mitigation? Or are we asking about roofers?
Let's divide the two camps. Let's say both. Let's address both of them because I have a feeling that you have an opinion on both of them. So let's go with that.
Strong opinion. So a mitigation contractor, I think, and a public adjuster is truly a symbiotic relationship. I think just by the last year and a half that we've known each other, you can see how that is. I know we've got friends, other public adjusters, and other water mitigation contractors. We all work together because I need you when a claim is filed to mitigate, because under the duties after the loss, one of those duties is to mitigate, and that could be anything from a repair, a tarp, setting up machines, cutting out drywall, doing a mold test, and remediating mold. All that stuff is actually literally written into the policy as a necessary that needs to be done by every policyholder after a claim. In regards to restoration contractors, my strong opinion is stop doing our job.
Right.
And what I mean by that is I don't want to say I'm sick and tired, but I think when it comes to roofers, when it comes to contractors, when it comes to the people who are in charge of the actual build back, their main thing is trying to get contracts and trying to get sales and trying to make sure they have, a lot of jobs lined up so that they're continuously working. It's not wasting their time with the insurance claims process. By law, they're not allowed to negotiate a claim. By law, they're not allowed to quote statutes. By law, they're not allowed to quote all the different kinds of policy language that go into it. That's what a public adjuster is for. Now, if they want to work the claim and then kick it to an attorney after the claim goes south, by all means, they can do that. But I find it way too many times I get calls from roofers and I get calls from contractors after a claim has gotten denied, after the claim gets delayed. If you don't abide by those ever so important duties after a loss, which is to mitigate, which is to document, which is to take photos, which is to respond to RFI request for information letters, which is to provide the POL within 30 days. There's so many things that you have to do that could totally screw up a claim that by the time I get it from a roofing contractor or a general contractor or anybody, it's kind of already gone to shit. Now, I do whatever I can to try to pick up the pieces where they have fallen, but, just recently, thankfully, I was able to settle a claim that was completely denied because the roofer tried to handle it. And I love this roofer, by the way, so I don't want to say anything negative or any other roofer about that. But if I would have gotten it from the beginning, that client and that roofer honestly would have gotten paid 3.5 months ago. But because they tried to work the claim for 3.5 months, 4 months, they gave it to me after the claim has gotten denied. I had to pick up the pieces where they were. And thankfully, in a month, I was able to go from denial. We just got a check for $56,000.
Nice. So do you think that that's more fear-based on the contractor side? In other words, if the contractor is saying, hey, look, I'm the contracting professional, right? I'm the roofer. I'm the drywall installer, whatever it is, right? I'm the general contractor. I know my pricing. I know exactly where I need to be. If I just simply give this up to a public adjuster, they're just looking to settle. They're not going to give me the money that I need. And also, I think in the back of everybody's mind, they're like, wow, and the public adjuster is going to make like free money. They quote unquote free money, right? Because they always think that public adjusters make free money on the deal, right? So what do you think drives that where the contractor wants to handle their own billing and invoicing and all of that stuff? Or the claims aspect?
Money. It's money. It's money. They don't want to give the 20% that it goes to the public adjuster. But just like any other service, it costs money. So you're not going to, if you have to go to trial for whatever reason, you're not going to go into, although you can represent yourself, you're not going to go into trial without an attorney. If you want to file taxes, you can, please, by all means, use TurboTax and do it on your own. But most people want to hire an accountant because they know the ins and outs of the tax code. So when it comes to a roofer, roofers are out there door knocking and looking for different jobs, and they have their sales team. I mean, I know roofing companies in particular. I mean, for the most part, they all have a huge sales team where they go out and then they look for jobs, or they use Google Ads and they use different things to try to get those roofing jobs. Why not get it signed up and then give it to a public adjuster who is going to work the claim in a way that not only is it going to get you paid faster, but chances are you're going to get paid a lot more. Roofing contractors can't write the interior. Public adjusters, we're going to include the interior. Roofing contractors are going to write an estimate that's like basically exactly to what they're looking for. What they need to understand is that, unfortunately, we live in this world where the insurance company is going to try to lowball. They're going to try to take things away from the estimate. So if you don't write the proper estimate with enough line items that are all arguable, but with enough line items that you may be willing to concede to and give up here and there, like public adjusters do, because we know how to write these estimates with certain line items included to make sure that we get enough for the claim and hopefully enough for our percentage as well, that the roofer is going to be happy, the client's going to be happy, public adjuster is going to get paid, and all the while the roofer could have signed 10 more jobs in that month where they didn't even have to deal with it.
Right. And it's about that thing where, spending your time wisely, right? For, again, not all money is created equal. So you could have, in theory, more money that you're invoicing the insurance company as the contractor, and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try to settle this thing myself. But how much time are you spending, right, between the phone calls and the emails and the letters and all the follow-up that you have to do? Whereas you could potentially make a little bit less, which is not always the case, by the way, which is not always the case. Sometimes you get exactly what you were bidding for, in some cases even more than what you thought you were originally going to invoice for, just by bringing on a public adjuster who, again, that's all that they do. And if you have the right relationships with the right public adjusters, they've got enough of a system, of an infrastructure already set in place to where it kind of just, just makes the entire process so nice and smooth. So I think it's a very interesting concept. What would you suggest public adjusters do to when they're reaching out to contractors, to water mitigation companies, right, and other restoration aspects of our business, to try to forge a relationship and say, hey, look, this is the value that I bring to the table. This is why we should be doing business together?
I mean, I think it's tricky for upcoming public adjusters who are new, which is why I always recommend to our public adjusters is to work for another firm, a reputable firm, for at least a few years. Just because it's going to help in that, I guess, sales pitch whenever you go out and meet a mitigation contractor or a roofing contractor and you want to sort of get their business. So I think, and to go back to sort of another point, which is with the roofer, also I think a lot of roofers and a lot of mitigation contractors probably have a bad taste in their mouth for maybe some public adjusters who might have dropped the ball in a claim and didn't follow up and didn't do what they were supposed to. So I think for the public adjuster, if you're going to go and look for roofers and mitigation contractors, I think it helps to have a pretty nice system in place, making sure that you have sort of all your ducks in a row, you have your follow-up process, you have your workflow sort of like on point so that the claim never actually gets out of the way. Have sort of at least some kind of system in place on every claim that you go to, making sure that you're documenting the claim as best you can, and then also making sure that you're signing good claims. Because another problem is, I think a lot of public adjusters, and roofers and everybody else, they reach a little bit too much, where they're looking at a claim where there's just really not that much damage, or the damage is really questionable as to whether it was actually as a result of this event or not, and then they just sort of file it anyway, and then guess what happens with those claims? They get denied, delayed, and underpaid. If you're filing good claims, and be patient. I used to tell people that I walk out of half of the houses that I actually walk into with a claim. And not because I couldn't sign it, it's because I chose not to sign it, because I didn't think it was worth the client's while, worth their while. Didn't think it was worth my while either. So processes are very important, and making sure you've got a good eye for what's a good claim.
And that goes back to just not being a weak salesperson. Again, a lot of people and I've had lots of conversations with public adjusters. A lot of public adjusters don't even consider themselves to be salespeople, right? They're like, oh, I'm not in sales, I'm a public adjuster. Like, yes, you're in sales. You're trying to get a customer, a client, to go ahead and sign an agreement so that you can go ahead and represent them. You are, in fact, in sales. You're trying to convince the insurance company that your estimate is correct and that you should get a certain dollar number. That's selling. And a lot of the times what happens is that there's this thing in the business, right, with this contract AOB style of invoicing, that everybody just has a contract and be like, hey, everybody wants to play a really nice person, really nice gal, really nice guy. They slide over the contract, be like, don't worry, no money out of pocket, you don't have anything to worry about. And they set all of these like weird, non-realistic expectations, right? So communication is key when you're speaking to the client, but then also when you're speaking to a remediation company or water mitigation company, a tarping company, all of these companies that you are going to need their services anyways, to say, hey, by the way, this, in my opinion, is a slam dunk case. This is why, A, B, C, D. Or you say, hey, you know what? This isn't really, I don't know. We're kind of throwing a dart in a shot in the dark here, right? Just have that communication could really make the difference on the overall experience. Like, I've received claims that have been fantastic claims, and we've had, open communication about it, and they settle almost immediately. We've been able to, with other public adjusters, and there's stories out there where we've been able to get partial coverage with the public adjuster, and then based on our documentation, get full coverage. But we were working so tightly together. In other words, we have access to the exact same photos. One of the softwares that we use is Company Cam, which, by the way, we'll leave a description in the video description below, as well as in the show notes, which is a fantastic software that I think that everybody should use. But again, because we have this integrated way of communicating, everything is on a singular Google Drive, everything is on photo documentation is in a certain area, we were able to go ahead and move these things along. We've also had other claims where all of a sudden we pop in and then a week later it's a denial claim. Like how did that happen, right? Like we haven't even finished doing what we're supposed to do and already the claim is being denied. So that's because of lack of communication, or because to some degree weak salesmanship, because you're not communicating, because you're scared to have a deal blow up, or you're scared not to get that contract signed. So what's your opinion on that?
I think you're right. I think communication is key. I know we have worked on claims together, and you do a fantastic job with that. Like you will literally call me at the job site and say, "Here's what I'm thinking. What do you think?" And at the end of the day, these claims, I always call the public adjuster the quarterback of the claim. They sort of are the ones who sort of dictate as to where it goes and the direction it goes. And if you have an inexperienced public adjuster that you're working with, or an inexperienced public adjuster that works for an inexperienced company, or their own inexperienced company with no guidance on the direction these claims are supposed to go, I could see why, there could be a bad relationship or some miscommunication that goes on. But even so, you and I were both once in our first year of doing this as well, and I think we could both agree that even if you didn't know everything you needed to know, communicating with that public adjuster, communicating with the mitigation contractor on sort of every move that you make, so that you make the right moves in the claim and the claim moves along the way it's supposed to.
And it's all about keeping your eye on the big picture, right? We have a case that needs to be settled, right? Ultimately, it's for the client. Like that's where I think if we could all focus more on the client, ultimately everything is that much easier, right? Because everybody's so concerned about, and again, I've told this story before, where I've personally seen claims that have been totally held up because a mitigation company didn't want to settle on a $3,000 difference on an invoice. To me, that's so short-sighted, first of all. Because, look, does it suck that you could have made an extra $3,000 and you didn't get the $3,000? Yeah, of course. Nobody wants to just burn $3,000. However, how much more business was lost because you're tripping over pennies on your ways to making dollars, right? What kind of suffering did you put that customer through? Because now the entire process is held up until you settle, right? Like all of these different dynamics. And then also as an additional side note, you're kind of putting a dollar figure on the value of the relationship that you had with that other pro. You're saying, hey, look, you're worth $3,000 because I'm not willing to settle on $3,000. So let's figure it out, right? So a lot of people just get focused on the wrong things. If you can focus on the client, it makes it that much easier. So the reason why, again, on some of the claims that we've done, why I pick up the phone and I shoot you a call is, yes, I'm on the field. I'm looking at exactly what needs to be done. I'm looking at, IACRC standards and all of this other stuff. However, that's part of it. The other part of it is, if I do this, how does this affect the claim? Or if I do this, which I need to do, right? And God forbid you're not aware of that, how is that going to change the direction in which you're handling the case, right? So having that open line of communication is extremely, extremely important. So what would you suggest for a water mitigation company, right? Or a tarping company or any kind of restore? What would you suggest for them to do as far as prospecting and trying to forge new relationships with a PA? How should a restoration company come to a PA and say, hey, by the way, I'm the guy that you want to use?
How should the mitigation contractor do it?
You as a PA, how would you want to be approached? What should a mitigation company, mold remediation company, tarping company, roofer, how should they come at you and say, hey, look, this is the service that I provide. This is why I'm like the best guy for you to use. Like, what should that pitch look like?
Honestly, I think in person. I mean, I think that's pretty important. I know we're living in a weird time right now where a lot of people are maybe afraid to meet in person, but I think that goes a long way. I get a lot of mitigation contractors that reach out to me on a daily basis, and they just shoot me some like random LinkedIn message, or they send me a message on Instagram, and that's great. I respond and say, okay, cool, I'll keep you in mind. Am I really keeping that person in mind? I don't know. Did they really spend the time to try to actually earn sort of some of my book of business? Obviously, I've been doing this for a while, so I've got other mitigation contractors that frankly I already use. But for example, I had one company who is in Miami, and he literally drove up with 2 of his guys just to have lunch with me. And I admire that, and I took the time to do it, and we went out, and we had lunch, and, we had a great lunch, and I've already referred him 2 claims. So I think just taking the time, if you really want, somebody's book of business, I think taking the time to meet them in person, or at least set aside a phone call, have sort of like your questions and your I guess, resume ready as to what you could provide to that public adjuster. As far as some of the things that a mitigation contractor can provide, in my opinion, I think it's kind of difficult until you actually sort of show them the work that can be done, which would have to, I guess, sort of wait for a referral. But another thing would be, to be honest, is also a referral coming to you also. So like if I tell all the students in the course, if you're looking for a mitigation contractor or restoration contractor, send them a referral. I think if a referral is sent, then a lot of times maybe that person may feel that they owe you, and then they'll give you a claim as well. I think that's another good way. I don't know.
Yeah, reciprocity is a huge portion of business, right? Do first, lead with results, right? So if there's someone that you want to do business with, and you know that they're a public adjuster, or you know that they're putting up tarps all day, and you come across an opportunity to go ahead and say, hey, by the way, I've got this deal already teed up for you. I thought of you. Here you go. That changes the whole dynamic, because now what it also does is it provides you with a reason and an excuse to call a couple of days later and be like, hey, by the way, how did that go? Hey, by the way, how's it going with that client? Okay, cool. So you're midway through the project. All right, awesome. I'm so glad that it worked out. And then now all of a sudden, before you know it, it's you can do this very effectively to become part of a person's routine, right? Because really all it takes is a couple of phone calls in order for you, like at the same time or right around in the morning, in the afternoon, whatever it is that you decide to reach out to that person to all of a sudden become part of their daily business and even personal life routine. Like for me, I will usually, like as I'm driving to job sites or doing estimates, I'll kind of do my rounds and call like all of the pros that I'm doing business with, and literally shoot the shit for a couple of minutes. I'm like, hey, what's going on? What do you got going on today? You signing any claims? Hey, you doing any roofs? You doing any of this? You doing any of that? Oh, fantastic. Let me know. I'll let you know if anything, pops up on my end. All of a sudden, if I don't call for like 2 or 3 days because life gets in the way, people are like, yo, Rico, you okay? So, it's the same strategy. Awesome. The other thing that I would say is don't be like the crowd. I mean, listen to what Vince just said, right? They send a LinkedIn message. This is a regular text message. Like, guys, be a little bit more creative. Be a little bit more personal. Yes, a face-to-face is fantastic. I agree. However, I also don't want to meet face-to-face with everybody that reaches out to me. I just don't. Number one, it's a time suck. If not, we'd be in meetings all day that lead to nowhere, right? But there are ways for you to be a lot more personal, right? There's the power of video. Like literally download a simple Chrome extension like Loom, Loom, and record, go to their Facebook page, right? Pull up their profile, and then start hitting the record button. And then all of a sudden, when you send them that video, it's a screen recording of their Facebook page or of their company website with your face on it, right? All of a sudden, that's going to be a little different than all these different LinkedIn messages and DMs that they got, right? So try to find a way to separate and say why you're different. And then on one additional note, like you were talking about how it's very difficult to understand what the process looks like until that job gets going as far as a referral. And that's partly true, because you're never going to know exactly how well that person's going to perform. But as a restoration contractor, as a roofer, whatever industry it is that you're in, if you can have your ducks in a row going in In other words, you can show them your backend, you can show them your CRM, you can show them your Google Drive folder, how you keep everything organized. If you could show them, let's say, for example, like your Company Cam, which again, you would think that I'm sponsored by Company Cam at this point, but I'm not. Company Cam.
You should be. Company Cam,
yeah,
where you at?
Exactly. If you could show them that back and you could show the collaboration and how that system works, that instills a lot of confidence because that's the equivalent of having social proof, right? So if someone was to come at you, Vince, with all of that stuff, like, would that make you feel better? Would that give you a little bit more confidence to do business with that person?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm the same way too. I mean, you made me think of something also. Is when I'm sitting with the contractor or mitigation company and I'm trying to sell myself as well, I do explain to them the process that I go through from the second that I walk into a home. Our software that we use Trello to really just keep track of everything. My freaking rock star of an assistant that we're able to follow up every 7 days, that we respond to every single letter, that we just stay on top of it from beginning to end. But even that, I mean, I don't think you could show them everything, but you don't really know, right? Because how many people have been burned, have been jaded by somebody who says all these things and then they don't actually act upon it. I think another good way is I have been at a client's house and they asked me for references, and I was able to contact references on the spot. I think references is also very important. If you could either have a handful of people that you could contact right there, maybe some video testimonials that you could show right there on the spot, maybe some people, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a million different ways that you could at least get some actual clients, some other mitigation companies that have actually worked with you, that you could show them that, hey, look, here's what this person said about me. Here's what this person said about what we did in this claim. Maybe you could explain and talk about the life of that claim and how it went and why it worked out so well. But there's a lot of good success stories that we have, I'm sure, with other mitigation contractors and other people that we could show them. But I've said before on a video where have like at least 5 or 6 different sort of go-to references, because I have clients that ask me for references. I don't know if that happens to you. And I have a list that I have about 6 people of just past clients. And actually my references include 3 past clients, a general contractor, a roofer, and a mitigation contractor. Those are my references that I sort of go to. And I could say, I could either leave their phone number, hey, you could feel free to give them a call, or I could call them usually right on the spot, because I know that I can call you, right? If I'm in front of a client right on the spot, and you'll just be like, oh, 100%, yes, we've worked all these claims together, and this is how it's going to go, and it's going to be great. So I think that's also a good thing, but that also comes to building a relationship, right? Building a rapport with that person so that you could, actually call them and they're going to actually answer.
Exactly. And that's another thing for all the pros out there. Answer your phone, for crying out loud. You're in the people business. Answer your phone. If you're not answering your phone, you're not making money. Plain and simple. It's amazing. It's amazing to me still to this day how many people are saying, hey, you know what? It's really slow out there. But then you call them and they don't pick up the phone. And it's like that could have been a client. That could have, maybe I had a client, that I was going to refer to you. So answering your phone is kind of a big deal. But you asked me if I get a lot of requests for referrals. The simple answer is no. I don't get a lot of them, mainly because I'm always thinking about how I can pre-frame the client before that even comes up. So I have as much of that aspect of the sale automated as much as I possibly can. So I have the video testimonials already. So by the time that before I leave the property in most cases, or by the time that they already get my estimate, they already have like video testimonials from different clients and all of that stuff. So as a general rule of thumb, it doesn't even go that far because they've already kind of gone through the rabbit hole and I've already been vetted, right? I've already got that social proof. So just thinking about, how as a pro, you should go out and get reviews, but most people today are still stuck on getting a Google review, which, by the way, Google reviews are fantastic, right? They've got SEO, properties, if you will, right? Like you'll rank better in maps and all of that good stuff. That's great. But a video testimonial changes the entire game. It's amazing 100%. What that will do, right? And just have it be real. And also, if you're a little shy about, or if you feel that the customer is shy about giving you a video testimonial, honestly, don't even ask for permission. It's overrated. Just don't pull out your phone as you're doing the walkthrough on your project and just talk about the project. So which is something that I do all the time. And I can kind of gauge like if someone's going to be, really comfortable with pulling out their phone themselves. Or what I'll typically do is I will just pull out the phone and I'll just start talking about the project and be like, oh yeah, so we just here at my client's house, blah, 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 and we just redid this kitchen and this area here in the drywall, and we did this and we did that. Oh, hey, Susie, hey, how are you? Can you tell me a little bit about the experience? And all of a sudden she's like, now she's on camera and I'm in the shot as well. So it creates this very real thing that's going on that when other customers and prospects see that, they're like, wow, this is really amazing. And they don't feel that it was canned or some kind of paid actor that you hired in order to give you that testimonial.
Yeah. In regards to referrals, I mentioned earlier that you should give a referral to that public adjuster or give a referral to the contractor or whoever it is so that you could so that they could reciprocate and eventually give you a referral or vice versa. That referral doesn't have to necessarily be a claim. If you sit down and you listen to somebody talk about whatever it is that they're talking about, and they're struggling because they can't keep up with cleaning their house or something, and you've got a good house cleaner that you could refer them, let me tell you, that goes a long way also. Any kind of referral that you get, I'm having trouble with my taxes, I don't know what to do. Well, check it out. I've got a good accountant that could really help you with your taxes. I think any referral that goes, it just goes to show that person that you're actually thinking about how you could help them. So I did want to make that point that referral doesn't always necessarily have to be an actual job. It could be about something in their personal life. And if you sit down with somebody, or whether by Zoom or in person, or even a long, nice conversation over the phone, you listen to them, you ask them about their personal life and see how things are going. You'll be surprised how just a referral for anything could help and go a long way. Being
the conduit to making somebody else's life easier is the fastest way to be front of mind. It's the absolute best mechanism for you to genuinely be of service to somebody else, but to also have that person constantly thinking about it. The one thing about having a good, strong network of people that you can refer out, that may be, a tax accountant, or, an attorney, or this or that, or a mechanic, whatever it is, right? And the more of those people that you have in your Rolodex, not that anybody uses Rolodexes nowadays, but the more of those
you don't have one?
No, not at all. Oh. The more of those that you have, the better it is, because now you're constantly trying to make connections for other people. So it's a great way of making those connections. Vince, let me ask you this. Let's talk about marketing for public adjusters, right? What would you recommend for public adjusters, number one, to do more of as far as marketing and getting themselves out there? And number two, what is your personal favorite mechanism when it comes down to marketing?
So I'm old school. I'm more the relationship building type. I've always been the kind of public adjuster that I've been able to build my success on just a handful of relationships and a handful of referral sources. I guess I've been lucky. I don't think that you need to have a whole Rolodex of referral sources. I think you spread yourself a little bit too thin that way. And I do believe in the value of building a nice, good, strong friendship, like professional friendship with somebody, where although it is in regards to business, but you get along with the person, where you can go and you can have a beer with that person, actually get along great with them. We are definitely, what I've created with the Commercial Claims Advocate has also helped tremendously, where establishing myself as an expert in the industry has definitely helped my bank account. I could see the difference just by people seeing me online with all the videos that we do and posting and just showing people, hey, look, I actually know what I'm doing. Now we're definitely in the process of doing Google ads, and Facebook ads is something that I've been wanting to target as well. But for me, if you're asking for me personally, I was able to sort of grow my business by just straight up networking. Meeting face-to-face with people, going to networking events, going to happy hours, having one-to-ones with people where you sit down, you have coffee with them, and you get to know the person, they get to know you, and then that's how you're able to sort of refer each other business, and then building it that way. Like I said, I've literally built my entire business, and I've been able to be what I think is pretty successful on just a handful of relationships. good, strong relationships.
And so what would you recommend for new public adjusters coming into the market? Because again, I mean, it is different times, right? Now people are still a little skittish about meeting and, going to events and things like that. What do you think is the modern way of getting out there, getting out of obscurity, getting your name out there, and getting customers to call you?
My step-by-step process is, if it's somebody who's just starting out, my step-by-step process is to always start with your own personal Rolodex and calling everybody on your cell phone and just connecting with them, asking them how they're doing so that they eventually ask you how you're doing and what's new in your life. And then you begin to explain to them that you're a public adjuster, contractor, and here's what I'm doing, here's how I can help. Then from there, go to all of your social media contacts. Literally send a message to every single one of your Facebook friends and Instagram friends. You could sort of have the same message. You could copy paste it and still personalize it, and you'll be surprised how much time that's going to actually take to just sort of send every message, because everybody that actually responds, it begins a conversation. You're going to go back and forth to eventually tell them what you want to do. Another thing is that if you have enough money to do it, which I know you know more than I do, it doesn't take that much money to actually do it. I think Facebook ads and Facebook ads and Google ads, I think, is very important. However, in order to do, I think, successful Facebook ads or even Google ads, in my opinion, I think you got to start actually providing some content, right? So you actually have to start doing some videos and sort of providing some value in that content. So once you make all the contacts and you start actually meeting with people and start going out to houses and some different job sites, get your freaking camera out. Okay, start recording some of these things, start taking some photos, start actually creating some content. And even if in the beginning it's organic, at least you've got something that you could eventually throw a little money behind and throw in and get some Facebook ads going. I know a lot of people that are really successful with Facebook ads, and it's really, really cheap. So, I mean, I think
Not as cheap as it used to be, but it's still a huge amount of value. Where people fail a lot of times is particularly when it comes down to Facebook ads, is they're going straight for the jugular on Facebook. So there's really inexpensive ways. I would say for like a new public adjuster or a new water mitigation restoration company that doesn't have a lot of money for marketing and they wanted to break into the Facebook portion of the marketing picture, is upload videos directly onto the platform. So that would be step number one, right? So instead of, let's say, having a YouTube video or having a video hosted somewhere else and then linking on Facebook to that video, that's a big no-no, because Facebook doesn't like that. Facebook likes people to stay on the Facebook platform. So if you're out in the field and you're prospecting or you're in the middle of a job site, document what that journey looks like, document the experience, and then have a very soft call to action on every single video, right? But hey, by the way, if we could be of service to you, or if you know someone that could, that needs our service, go ahead and reach out, right? It's a very simple call to action, very light, and you will upload those organically. So if you do that for 30 days, 60 days, or multiple times a day, you're going to have 30, 60, 90 pieces of content, right? Now what you could do is you can, instead of running an ad, what you could do is you can do a boost the post. And when you're boosting a post, what you could do is there's still parameters where you can go ahead and have a certain audience and still select like a demographic and areas and all of this other stuff, right? So you could literally boost a post for $1 a day, $2 a day, $3 a day. And what that will do is now it creates a list of people that have already watched your videos, which basically means that's your warm audience. So now you can go ahead and start dissecting this data and be like, how many people are watching video A versus video C, right? And then you start killing off the bad videos, enhancing the good videos. It's only costing you about $1 a day, which is nothing. All the while, you're building this warm audience of people that have already seen your content. So now when you're ready to go ahead and go for the jugular and go for a straight out offer and be like, hey, this is the name of my company. This is what we do. This is who we serve. Contact this number right now. Click the link below. These people, they've already seen your value. They're familiar with your face. They're following along with your content, and you get a much better conversion rate when you go about it that way.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I mean, when I started doing all the videos by myself with really no help at all, I mean, it was just like my goal every day which is another piece of advice that I give to all of our students. My goal every day was to come out with at least one piece of content every single day, 7 days a week. And that content could be anything. It doesn't have to be a video, although videos are the best, but they get, you run out of things to say or whatever. But every day it had to either be a video, a photo, something that I wrote, some kind of comment that I wrote about something, or a shared article. And a shared article is easy. You just type in Google water damage, Fort Lauderdale, and you go to news, and there's going to be articles about that. Go ahead, read through it real quick, and share it. The point was I just wanted to be in that feed every single day, no matter what. And there would be times, it'd be like 9 o'clock at night. I'd be like, oh, crap, I didn't post anything today. Let me look up a quick news article. Boom, share it. Or let me write something real quick about my day. And that's all it is also. It's actually a lot easier than people think to come up with content, because every single day in our lives, something different is happening. Every day, no matter what. You could make a video about, I could literally make a video right now, if I want, about this freaking adjuster who's giving me a hard time, who just responded to my counteroffer this morning, and now he's telling me that he doesn't want to move on his number or whatever. I can make a video about that. If you're having trouble with an adjuster who's giving you a hard time on your counter, make sure you do a research real quick on your estimate, see where you guys have differences, and then propose a counteroffer to that. If that doesn't go well, then hey, you know what? Go to appraisal or go to mediation so that you could resolve this claim. Boom.
Right.
It's not that hard, and that's just, it's 10:15 in the morning and I already got content for today. Because we get emails all the time. And like I said, it doesn't even have to be completely related to it. It could be, hey, I had a great podcast with Rico Garcia today and it was about this, this, and that. It could be anything at all. And if you're not good on video, you will get good on video. But if you don't like that, then post some photos. If you don't want to do that, then write. If you're not good in video, hopefully you're at least good in writing, or you're good in audio, or you're good at talking. Whatever it is, there's always an avenue that you can do it. On my podcast, I had Francisco Serrano, who his English is not very good looking. He's got a strong accent, and he was able to take his failures in door knocking and take his failures in cold calling because of his strong accent that nobody would listen to him for longer than 10 seconds. And he was able to transition into social media, primarily LinkedIn, and just continuously post photos, graphic photo. What do they call it? Not graphic photos. Infographics. Right. And just content, valuable content that people eventually started to just sort of actually start moving, and people start to take awareness of it. And he's the top salesman in the company that he works for, and he's got his own marketing agency now. So, there's an avenue for everything, for everybody. Just, you have to just sort of find it. But it's got to be, social media is king.
Yeah, you have to figure out the social media game. And I think if you notice the landscape, at least for me, I keep my finger on the pulse as much as I possibly can. There's not a lot of restoration companies, water mitigation companies that are really doing anything spectacular on social media. Like, they're just really not. They're not producing a whole lot of content. And I think that's valuable.
Not valuable content. That's the problem.
And valuable.
Remember you commented on one of my posts when the hurricane was coming, and everybody was doing was screenshotting the stupid path of the hurricane. Right. Everybody knows there's a hurricane coming. Everybody knows that they could just literally just type in Hurricane Ida or whatever it is, and the path is going to show up. That's not valuable content. I'm just scrolling right through that. Now, if you tell me, maybe give me 2 or 3 tips on how I could prepare for this hurricane, maybe give me some historical facts as to the direction of this hurricane and the possibilities where you can go. I mean, there's just a million different valuable things that you can say, as opposed to just screenshotting the path of a hurricane and saying, hey, here's what we do. Make sure you call us in case this hurricane hits. Yeah,
right.
And every
Not
other
being lazy with your content is key. Again, lazy content is found everywhere. Just like mediocre craftsmanship is everywhere, right? But we don't want that. We want something different. We want something that we look at and we say, you know what? Someone took the time to create and craft this message. Even if I don't take action on your message, but if I see that message time and time again with the same time that you invested into it, trust me, the day that I need that particular service, you stand head and shoulders above everybody else. So not being lazy when you create the content and always trying to find ways to improve is the easiest way to get ahead.
Well, it's like our claims. It's having the consumer in mind, right? When we work a claim, we want to make sure that the consumer, the homeowner, is taken care of. We're going to walk out of the job if we don't think it's worth it for that consumer to even file a claim or go through whatever it is that they have to go through. Same goes for your content. Who are you speaking to, and are you actually providing them with content that they find valuable? Whether you're speaking to another restoration contractor or whether you're speaking to a homeowner, give them some content that's going to actually be valuable. Like, hey, if, as soon as this hurricane hits, make sure you take photos. They're going to be like, oh, wow. 3 years ago, before I really started doing anything, I think it was was it Irma? No, it was after Irma. But I started, I just felt like doing it. I wrote a day by day, I wrote top 10 things you should do before this hurricane hits. And every day I would come out with a different thing. And this is before I started doing any videos, started doing anything. I had personal friends of mine that were telling me my sister looks forward to the next day's tip because she's finding it very interesting. And all it was, hey, make sure you take photos. And I would just explain, take photos of your exterior house, take photos of every room, take photos of the ceiling, take photos of this, just store it away. Next day was find where your policy is, just so you have it handy. Make sure that your policy has this, and that. And then the next day was bring everything inside. And the next day was protect your home, because if you protect your home, take photos of it. If the insurance company sees that you actually tried to protect your home, that's going to look better during the claims process. And it was just me just writing the content. And I hate to write. But, every day I took the time. We had a hurricane coming. I knew by providing this content, if and when this hurricane hit, guess who they're going to call if they have damage? The person who provided them all this valuable content. So just make it valuable. It's so important.
Right. Are you doing anything on YouTube besides your YouTube channel, which, by the way, Commercial Claims Advocate, right? Yeah. Are you doing anything as far as ads on YouTube?
Not yet. We're working on it. We're working, and we're also waiting for our good friend Rico Garcia to help us and coach us throughout the way.
See, you've been baiting me. You've been baiting me a few times, and I haven't taken the bait. You're like, he's going to mention the course. But no, I'm trying to tone it down a little bit. But no.
No. As far as YouTube ads, no, it's something that we definitely want to do. We have Elite Resolutions, which is the public adjusting firm. We plan on doing some Google ads and some Facebook ads with that. We've got our Google location and everything going with that. So we're working on that. But then we also have the other business, which is the educational portion, that we just have a couple more products that we need to come out with. And as soon as we come out with those, then we're going to probably hit pretty hard with the ads. But I think it's something for me in my career that I've had to step up on. I haven't done enough. Everything I've done has been pretty much organic, and that's only going to take you so far, especially with the amount of money that it costs for some of these ads and stuff. I know you've told me about it before. I mean, it's just really worth its while, where you get one job,
Yes, for us in our side of the industry, it's definitely worth it. Right. Because, again, we're not doing a $500 project. Typically, we're not even rolling out of bed for, anything less than a couple $1,000 as a general rule of thumb. Right. So I'm a big believer in, number one, yes, organic is amazing. Who doesn't love organic? Right. And organic long term, when you're talking about like SEO, search engine optimization, your website, the absolute best ROI that you could possibly ever get is actually on SEO. Right. Because that's set it and forget it. Once you have achieved a certain degree of presence, you will continue to reap those rewards. But after that, in my opinion, it's Google Ads. If you want a quick, fast cash infusion into your business, learning how to use Google Ads correctly, and more importantly, to shortcut all of your testing by basically figuring out what other companies in your niche are doing, that provides such an amazing ROI, right? Followed by your Facebook, Instagram, with your posting organically as well as driving traffic. And YouTube, in my opinion, is where most people are going to end up. And it's what YouTube now is what Facebook used to be 8 years ago.
I think it's Google. I mean, I know they're the same company, but I think the reason why I started the YouTube channel is because people will go to YouTube to search for something before they even go to Google. Correct. They want to see video content. I always use the example of if I need to put up my punching bag at my house, I'm going to YouTube how to do that.
You're going to YouTube that, which is why I'm saying YouTube for advertisers, right? So remember, keep that context in mind. For advertisers is what Facebook used to be for advertisers several years ago. Why? Number one, as an advertiser, you get to spread your message for 5 seconds, which is a lot of time, by the way. And if they skip that, you don't get charged. What other platform on the planet can you get an impression of your face or your company logo for free if someone's not interested, right? As a matter of fact, depending on the length of your ad, right, if they skip the ad within 29 seconds, it's still free, which is amazing, right? So also, if I'm, let's say that I was a professional punching bag hanger upper, right? And that was my thing. And there's a really successful video out there, or an organic video out there, that is showing people how to hang up their punching bag. Well, if that's my business, I can just say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and record this quick video, and this is going to be my video ad. It can be done on your smartphone, and then just place that ad in front of that ridiculously successful how-to video that people are going to be watching anyways. Now, here's the best part. You're talking about pennies per view. You're talking about 4, 5, 6 cents bids on video views, which is insane when you think about how many people are using YouTube to familiarize themselves with a product and or a service and or an industry. And now you have the ability to go ahead and put your face, your company's presence, your logo out there on YouTube for pennies on the dollar. I think that more and more people need to be paying very, very close attention to YouTube and also to Google ads as a general rule. There are some changes that are happening with Google ads, but ultimately all good things with Google ads, right? Like all good things are happening there as well.
Is there like do you have like I guess not a preference, but I think we should be involved a little bit in everything, right? I think we should have a little bit in YouTube ads, Google ads, and Facebook ads. Do you have like a percentage as to how much should be put here, how much should be put here, and how much should be put here of the three?
I think you need to figure. I think it changes from industry to industry. That's number one. So you need to figure out where your people are at, right? Like, where is your homeowner at? Where is my customer at, right? So depending on what business you're in, that's going to dictate a lot, right? And the data always is going to speak for itself. The data is the most important component. I think that people try to go all in on Facebook, and if Facebook doesn't work, they're like, marketing doesn't work, right? Or they find success on Facebook, but then they don't parlay that with anything else. And that's a massive mistake as well, right? Because your customer typically isn't only on Facebook. It's typically not only on Instagram, typically not only on LinkedIn, right? They're pretty much everywhere. So really what you want to go for is you want to go for omnipresence. That's really what you want to go for. You want to be totally out of obscurity, and you want to be everywhere as much as you possibly can. Now, as far as personal preference, that depends on where you are in business. Let's say, for example, that you are new to business and you need to get your phone ringing. Well, don't waste time with SEO. That's going to take too long, right? Go straight to bottom of the funnel. People that are looking to buy right now, Google ads, right? Okay, great. Once you get some money rolling in, now, number one, you know what's working on Google ads. So you've kind of got that geared down, but then that also gave you a lot of data as to how to go about your long-term SEO strategy, right? Because now you know the keywords that people are looking for, how often they're looking for it, what's actually driving conversions. So you've got all of that. So now you start implementing some of your resources towards SEO. While you're doing that, you should be posting organically on Facebook and on Instagram. And like you said, this could be an infographic, this could be a video, this could be a photo, this could be whatever it is that you want it to be, but it needs to be something, right? Now, you take that one step further. Now you take those posts and you start boosting posts before you start running ads. Why? Because if you start running ads, you don't necessarily know what content people are really watching, right? So I'm always using video because I'm a big advocate for video, right? So if you put an ad out there and you only have like one rendition of that video sales letter copy, if you will, right? You don't really know how well that's going to be received to the marketplace. But if you took the time to just create a bunch of little small micro pieces of content and you're boosting those, now you get to see the data, like what percentage of these videos are being watched. Then you can kind of, take that and then expand upon it. I believe that you should be everywhere. Probably a year from now, my number one recommendation is going to be YouTube ads. I think that YouTube ads are the future for the little guy right now until the real big companies really, really understand what's going on. You got to remember, corporate America moves really, really, really slow. Right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say fast.
No, they move really slow, right? Well, think about how long it took for you to see your first Ford commercial on Facebook.
Right.
And meanwhile, and in those pockets, that's where a lot of success is made. As a matter of fact, one of the interviews that I did with Edon Speiser, I think it was episode 2, founder of 911 Restoration, and his part of his success, and we have it on a quote card somewhere, part of his success was he overheard a conversation about Google Ads. And he went home and tried to figure out Google Ads. And that made the difference from a $250,000 business to a $3 million business. That's a big difference. Why did he have that? The reason why he had that success, besides obviously being a good entrepreneur, besides having all of those great traits, was he saw an opportunity that wasn't saturated yet, and then he got into it. So YouTube, for me, and I think for a lot of entrepreneurs out there, is going to be exactly that. It's an opportunity to go in now while it's still somewhat early and start carving out a piece of the market, especially for the cost.
Gotcha. And just a normal, as far as the video that you put on there, it should just be a video, obviously, call to action, promoting your business. Or should it be like an educational video? It doesn't matter, I guess.
It really depends on, again, how you want to go into the entire process. How do you want to build your funnel? Do you want a funnel that is meant to educate and then eventually you ask for the order? Or are you trying to have some kind of ROI relatively soon in that funnel, right? So it really depends. If it's a service like, for example, like mine, like water mitigation, tarping, or mold remediation, the education process has to be very, very, very small. Because if you're looking for that, you have the issue now. So you need to call now if you have that issue. So for me, I'm always asking for the order. So I'm always going to have a call to action somewhere. But let's say, for example, for a public adjuster, well, a public adjuster, a lot can be said about the same exact strategy. Number one, there are going to be a certain amount of people out there that understand who a public adjuster is, and they just don't know one directly, and they need to find a good one. Okay, good. That's a bottom of the funnel type of deal, right? So what you need to do is simply get out of your own way, say, hey, by the way, I understand that you've been looking for a public adjuster, which, by the way, you can do, which is amazing, right? What you could do is you can go ahead and create videos, a video ad based on someone's, get this, Google search history. What? So you're telling me that I can target people that have been actively on Google looking for a public adjuster, and I can put an ad in front of them saying, hey, and literally be blatant. Don't get cute. Just be like, hey, I know that you've been on Google searching for public adjusters. My name is Vince Perri. I just wanted to introduce myself. Let me tell you about Elite Resolutions, bro. That was, by the way, that was a great plug right there.
I like it.
So, but you can do something like that. And people are like, you know what? You're right. I was on Google. I was looking for public adjusters. You know what? Let me shoot this guy a call. Right? So being able to be comfortable and saying, hey, look, calling an ad, calling it what it is. Like, people aren't stupid nowadays, right? Like, just call it what it is. Be like, hey, I'm putting this ad in front of you because of this, And people, it's amazing what that does to the psyche. Like, all of a sudden, even if you didn't want to listen to the ad, you're willing to listen to the ad. Because they already came from a place of integrity. They're like, hey, listen, this is an ad. I'm not trying to get cute. I'm not trying to get gimmicky. I'm not trying to do any of that stuff. I'm not trying to be, this great persona of what the ideal professional looks like. I'm just being me. This is my product. This is my service. This is who I am. And I think you get much better results that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've only had the company now, Elite Resolutions, frankly, although I've been a public adjuster for 14 years, we haven't even been a public adjusting firm for, I think it's been like 6 months. So it's just all a work in progress. So many different options.
So many options. So let's talk to me real quick about your educational side of the business. So I understand you have a course and you've got, which by the way, also let's just backtrack here for a second. You also have a lot of meetups that you've done that I'm constantly like crashing to. I'm that guy. So talk about the meetups real quick, because the meetups are tons of fun. Very, very valuable. I will say, for anybody who's watching or listening, if you are a tradesperson, public adjuster, and you haven't gone to one of these meetups, make sure that you go. Tons of fun, tons of great value. They're getting better and better every single time. But go ahead, Vince. Go ahead and tell us about the meetups.
Yeah, so the meetup started with just, the social media thing started to grow, and I just decided, I was going to Miami, which is where I'm originally from, and I was like, hey, I'm going to be in Miami. If you want to come meet me, let's meet up. I mean, pouring rain. It just so happened it was pouring rain. Almost 20 people showed up. I'm like, okay, so let me try this again. I tried it in Tampa. 20 people showed up. And then finally we put some ads into it. We put some money behind it. I got a speaker for one that we had in, I think it was, it was the one in Orlando. And we had over 100 people show up. And I was like, whoa, okay, that was the tipping point. This is the thing. We did the same thing in Jacksonville. Over 100 people showed up. And you're right, they've gotten better. We've got speakers. We've got sponsors. We have a couple people who set up booths. And it's turning into almost like a mini conference. It's a free event that we hold for public adjusters, contractors, and like you said, anybody in the trades business to sort of come together and talk shop. I think a lot of times we're just...
Attorneys.
It's a good way for everybody to talk shop. I think too many times, especially public adjusters, I guess they feel like we're like all in competition with each other. But the fact of the matter is our competition is the insurance company, not each other. There's plenty of claims out there. So it's a really good opportunity to network, talk shop, and really just talk about sort of things that's going on with yourself in the industry. On top of that, like I said, it is a free event, and we try to provide food and drinks. Maybe not unlimited drinks anymore, but at least first round. And we have speakers too. So we have speakers to educate you. Like our next one that we're going to have a speaker who's going to talk about sort of like mindset and building your company and stuff like that. So I want to provide, again, it's providing value, right? I don't want it to just be an event where everybody gets together, although that works as well. But you did our one in Orlando. You spoke in that. You really educated people about Google Ads and different things like that. We had our attorney talk about civil remedy notices and CRNs and how to file them and bad faith complaints, and it became really valuable for everybody. But it's really just a good way to network, talk shop, and also educate yourself a little bit. And it's become like a thing. It's pretty nice.
It has become a thing. And the next event is actually coming up here rather soon in Tampa, correct?
Yeah, we're going to have September 17th. We're going to have a Tampa event. We're expecting a pretty nice turnout for that as well. We've got our speakers set up. We've got our sponsors set up. And I know you're going to be there, and it should be a pretty nice event.
I will be there, which as a matter of fact is going to be on the 17th. So what I'll do is in the video description below and in the podcast show notes, I'll leave a link to the RSVP. It's the only thing that's required, just RSVP, just so that we know exactly how many people are showing up. And so that description will be below, which would be great if we can catch up. That'd be fantastic, right? The more, the merrier. It's all about elevating the industry and just building relationships.
Yeah, it's pretty simple to find. CommercialClaimsAdvocate.com. You go to the Meetups button, and you can see you could RSVP right there. We're having Tampa September 17th. I think it's November 19th. We're going to go to Miami. We're expecting a pretty huge turnout for that. We're going to start pushing that and the ads and everything for that probably right after the Tampa meetup. Location still to be determined, but it will be Miami November 19th, I think. And again, all that information is on the website, CommercialClaimsAdvocate.com.
Absolutely. So the Miami event, do we have a date on the Miami event yet?
Yeah, November 19th.
November 19th. That one's for sure. That's like right in my backyard. So we know that's going to be a fun event for sure.
That's going to be fun. Honestly, I'm expecting well over 100 people. I think if we play our cards right, is it November 19th? Yeah, it's the week before Thanksgiving. I think we're going to have well over 100 people. We're going to have several speakers. Again, the location still to be determined, but we'll definitely do our best to provide food and drink, and then the fun part is definitely the event, but the fun part is also after the event too. We all get together, we go out, and we have a good time. It's definitely what I've noticed, in my opinion, that's the best part of the entire event is just honestly overall energy. Every event that we've done, the overall energy has just been extremely, extremely positive, very motivating for everyone that's in the room. And it's just a good way, I feel, for me to give back to the industry that has given me so much. Also to give back to the public adjusters, because I had a mentor myself. I try to do my best to help educate and mentor other public adjusters, educate them. And again, just a good way to network and talk shop.
Absolutely. So Vince, if someone wants to reach out to you, get a hold of you, what are the best ways to reach out to you so that way they can get some more information about maybe your course, about, meetups, things of that nature?
Yeah, on the website, commercialclaimsadvocate.com, we've got a calendar of events. We've got all the different courses that we do provide. Right now, it's just one course. We do have other products that we're going to be coming out with here in the new year. There's going to be a consulting program that we're going to be providing. You could contact me on Facebook, Vince Perri, or Commercial Claims Advocate. You could contact me on LinkedIn as Vince Perri. Instagram is Commercial Claims Advocate. I'm very easy to find. Message me. I do respond to pretty much every single message. So message me, ask me anything you want. But yeah, the website's honestly the best place. That's definitely the hub that you can check out any of the events and courses and mentoring and consulting and different things that we've got going on.
So don't want to close out the show unless we get a very, very important piece of information. This is going to be a difficult one for you. If you had to pick your top 3 books that every entrepreneur should read, what would those books be?
Top 3 books. So top 3 books would definitely be The Greatest Salesman in the World, Traction, and... Man, you put me on the spot. Greatest.
I know. I only gave you 3. I limited this list. Like typically, yeah, it's much more expansive than that.
It's more? I know, but I have to think about it. Damn it. Traction. And let's just say, just because it came to the top of my head, The Power of Now.
The Power of Now is a fantastic book. I don't think you've mentioned that one before. It's a fantastic book.
For some reason, it came to my head. That's the one that came in.
You're like, because I need something now. I need an answer now. So all of a sudden, you're like, right, the association there. Greatest Salesman in the World, Traction, and The Power of Now, all fantastic books. Again, descriptions will be in the video description below, as well as in the podcast show notes. Vince, thank you so much.
I had a list of books right here. I could have just
Let me see.
Okay,
well, wait, hold on. Let's go. What do you got?
This one here, it's not my list, but I've read 3 out of these? No, 2 out of these. $1 Million Habits. I haven't read. The Power of Habit. Oh, that one with the
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits is a good one.
Yep.
Atomic Habits. Miracle Morning is another great one. The Greatest Salesman in the World is here. U Squared. I'm reading that now. That one's okay. And the 1 Minute Millionaire.
1 Minute Millionaire. It's a good, pretty good list. But we still got to stick with the top 3. So we're going to go with The Greatest Salesman in the World, which, by the way, is my absolute favorite book of
my favorite.
all time. That's like, that one takes the cake. Why does it take the cake? It's based on principles, people.
I cried at the end.
It was good. It was moving. That's for sure. So, Vince, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate having you on the show. And let's do it again sometime, all right?
Thank you for having me on, Rico. I appreciate it, man.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, interviewing the restoration business's top industry insiders, the movers and shakers, the hustlers and hackers. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. Hook up with us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Restoration Domination to catch video interviews, highlights, and behind-the-scenes content. And follow your host at Rico Garcia Jr. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.